Hola community, welcome to episode 182, like blink, of Blender.Today live. We have a bunch of new features today, but also performance improvements on existing features. Such is the insane speed up in Grease Pencil, RESYNC performance for library overrides, and so much more. There is actually some modeling features too, some nodes, some video sequence editors, some cycle stuff for Apple users, and the POTPOURRI section actually has quite a bunch of small things here and there. Still, I think it's going to be the performance topic of the day. There's two big things that happened this week. So the first one is Happy Valentine's to everyone. I hope you love the renders that you do and they love you back. Okay, before talking about the new blog post on Override's workshop, and let's go to the title of this video because it's just crazy. And one of the developers that worked on it is actually on the chat, so we can ask stuff directly. So okay, let's start with a bang, or a pipe. Actually, the biggest change in performance, you're gonna see it in Grease Pencil when painting, when using the draw mode, and in one sculpt brush, it's gonna be moved into, it's gonna be applied this performance improvement to other areas, I've been told. But look at that. Look at this. So the title doesn't say much. It says something about Grease Pencil update on write using update cache. What does it even mean? Well, it means that that it's faster because it doesn't have to, every time you draw, it doesn't have to copy like the entire data block. It's more of a, speaking a bit more of a technical side. It only copies whatever you changed. So that means that the speed-ups are gonna vary depending on your scene, on your objects, on your Grease Pencil objects. The more the heavier they are, the more that you're gonna see this improvement. They are some values go up to like 900 times faster. It's hard to measure again because well, you can see here in this video how slow, how laggy it is with this file. So this file that you see here is 86 layers, 11,000 frames, 300,000 strokes, and 13 million points. So yeah, that's a big file. The bigger the file, the more complex it is, the more you're gonna see this. So you see here how slow it is. Every time you have to draw, you have to wait. If you ever had this happening, well, no longer, because now with the new one, which should be starting at any moment, here, there you go. File preferences, enable it from this is when it was under development. So now see, it's just faster. And also this is with a debug build. So for development, you want to build a Blender version of Blender that has a bunch of symbols and a bunch of extra data to tell you how things are going. But when you download the Blender from Blender.org, it doesn't have all that information inside because you don't need it for just using it. So it's actually supposed to be even faster than what you see here in the description in the video. So can Grease Pencil be used to make 3D mesh? Yes, inside of Blender, you just select a Grease Pencil object and you can convert from here into a, you can go to convert and you can convert into a curve or polygon, even polygon curve. What else? Well, the frames per second has increased in this example, only in this example, from 1 frame per second to 24 frames per second. It's just crazy. It's gonna be day and night. And this patch, what is super interesting about this patch is that it's contributed by one familiar face here, Folk David, but also by Jan Lanthoni, both of them. And the great thing about it, the thing that I like about this one is in the commit log itself actually, is that it's one of those happy and not ending, happy stories, because Folk is actually working at an animation studio that is using grease pencil. This change actually was contributed by the Spa Studios. Do you know them? Do you know them? Have you ever watched Klaus or Despicable Me or Rio or Smallfoot? Well, they did the visual development of those and the entire Klaus production for Netflix. And they're now using grease pencil for some stuff, apparently. The project is not announced yet, but they are hiring. If you go up here where it says hiring, you can see that they are hiring 2D effects artist seniors, where they ask for Toon Boom, but knowledge of Blender grease pencil is an asset. Hey, that's pretty nice. Or a 2D effects supervisor, where they don't even mention Blender, but they mention grease pencil. That shows how much grease pencil now is like its own yeah, it's its own monster, right? It's not even mentioned anymore that Blender is needed. Oh, however, if you do if you develop tools, there is an opening in the beautiful city of Madrid for TD, for tool developers, Blender TD, Blender specific TD. So that is amazing news that studios are adopting Blender. So and they're contributing the code back. Isn't that amazing? I think that should be the future, right? That not everything is via the Blender Development Fund, but also studios that have the time and the need to improve like the performance on this level, that have the time to spend weeks on this, months even, and then contribute the code back to Blender so everybody benefits. Super nice. Super nice. All right. Let's see. There is even more stuff that happened in grease pencil, and this addition was just added like a few minutes ago, so you're not gonna see it in the billboard from like the one you can download right now. You're gonna see it tomorrow. And if you use grease pencil and you use the fill tool, it has a very nice new option. Well, not a new option actually, it's just it used to be a setting called Dilate. So when you fill an area, you could have it like expand around that area to fill more of that area in case the gap wasn't completely closed, for example. But now this same setting allows you to have negative values, which in this case let you do this kind of filling. So you fill, but with negative values, so it actually shrinks and it lets like an outline around the your area. So it's also a very nice effect. Very cool. So this one was contributed by Antonio and the rest of the team. Matías Mendiola and Daniel Martinez Lara. I think that it's all the grease pencil news I have for today. Let's see the other huge improvement that was in performance for library overrides, working with like actual productions, with linking files, with linking libraries, with overriding these properties and this mess of files that the Blender Studio provides, especially with the linking. And you know, the layout artists, for example, they would just grab some characters or just some cubes and link them and pattern them together and then move the camera based on that, and that moves into the animation file, which then goes into the lighting file. But at some point you want to override settings. Some files are a nightmare, and there is a lot of work done inside of like Blender itself in trying to understand this maze of linking and relinking and overriding. Likely, if you don't understand what library overrides are, or what even is the future of library overrides, and what is the past, which is proxies, there is a new blog post, a massive blog post that just got published like a few minutes ago, that talk about the workshop that happened a couple of weeks ago in January here at the studio, where for a week developers will discuss the topics around overrides, performance, but also what is the future, what is some materials overrides or collection overrides, or dynamic library system overrides. What is that? Well, everything is explained in this blog post that just got published. Again, the links for everything that I'm showing are here in the they're part of the video description. In this, if you don't have a lot of time and just want to know what the heck are library overrides, here's a very nice example with graphics made by Simon Thomas, done where you can see a little example. So how does it work? Well, you have a library like a library file with a tree, for example. Then you link that tree somewhere else in your set file, for example, in your where you prepare your environment. So you link it, everything is linked, but now you want to actually move the tree. So you want to override the location of that object, of that tree, for example. Well, for that you will do you perform an override on the object level, because objects are the object level is what has location, rotation, and scale, transforms. So then you apply this override only at object level. Then you want to link that into your shot, right? You brought the tree, you put it somewhere in the asset, but somehow in one shot the tree falls, or the tree, you want to override it again. Maybe you want to change the mesh or something inside of that overridden library. It gets a bit complex, but hopefully you can see here in the drawings. I think it's well explained. Collection, the object here in the object level is the override, and then the thing around it is a system override. It's like under the hood. Blender has to make this link internally so it works, but it's not something the user does. Blender does it for you. And when you link it, everything is linked, everything is fine, and then you can even override even more. So then you have 2 levels of system overrides, which to the user, you're not gonna see it. It's just gonna be under the hood. You're gonna see it if you enable a filter. That's the idea. There is even a section down here where you can see more. There's a proposal, or just how it could be shown for dependencies, for data blocks, for system overrides, and so on and so forth. But the idea is that, the blog post goes about how the current implementation is not great. Developers are aware of that, and the new system should make it easier to find all your overrides and edit them all in one place. There is even a proposal on something that is still being discussed, but I have a way to expose certain settings in your properties, and that would be amazing. Imagine if you could, the same way you expose certain properties in your geometry nodes, for example, you could do that with any data block, and then you have a place where you can see all of those at once. So you make an asset, you share it with your world, and then the world will only find, maybe with a filter or something, those settings that you want them to override. Something like that. Could be pretty neat. Pretty neat. My ears were getting cold. Okay, let's continue. Let's read the blog post. It's super nice. We spent a lot of time with this. Bastian wrote it, then Dilate went through it, then Francesco went through it, then Simon and Francesco made these awesome graphics. Then it's really a team effort when you see something like this. Oh, here are the improvements in performance that I just mentioned before. Blender 3, 7 minutes. Blender 3.1, 1 minute 40. Blender 3.2 Alpha, which is what it's now in Master, 11 seconds. That is crazy fast. It's just. There is even another example where I think they go even in more detail, or with another file where it goes from 115 seconds to 43 seconds. No, I think the other one is more impressive. This one is just 7 minutes, and it's tested with one file from Sprite Fright, which are the ones that take the more advantage of it because of the giant amount of characters linked and overrides done. Okay. Question: could you make 1000 short animation blend shapes? if you really want to, yes. What else? Still waiting for texture painting to get faster and stable. Well, you're in luck, because if you have read the strategic targets for this year, you're gonna find that texturing is part of one of those. So yes. And okay, I mentioned the insane amount of speeds up being done in RESYNC performance, thanks to Jeroen and to Bastian. There is more to be done. And also in, well, not spoiler alert, but in Grace Pencil, there is another patch coming for improvements up to no, I'm not going to say a number, but it's quite a lot for undo. There are also more improvements coming to RESYNC, if I understood correctly what the developers told me. Okay, another improvement related to library overrides is that now Blender can do partial resyncing, so it doesn't have to resync the entire planet, can only do a small part, and this should make it more robust, but also I think performance, right? If you only resync the parts that override hierarchy actually needs. But there are no details on that. Let's move into a next topic of the week. Well, actually, this is very just the one topic in the modeling. Well, modeling / modifiers. Bevel intersections are now better. So this is a fix, but I consider it a feature. So have you ever had this case where bevel, the corners, they would merge, but in a funny way? Well, it's not funny anymore. Now it actually goes and merges more smoothly, how you would expect it to be, right? Super nice. There is even an example here of a triangulated cube, and we dispatch the intersections should look smooth like this. Although I kind of like this, but if you want to have this effect, you probably want to just use like edge creasing maybe. So yeah, Henrik, thank you for working on that patch. Okay, let's jump again, ships topics, into the next section, which is nodes. Not everything nodes, but everything around the nodes. And speaking about around the nodes, I swear I didn't plan that segue, is the frame nodes. Have you ever noticed how when you have a frame node with a bunch of nodes inside and you wanted to like box select, you couldn't, because the selection would actually select the frame underneath and mess up your selections. It was just impossible to do it without, yeah, you had to do it by hand. Not anymore. Philip User made this improvement, which is also in 3.1, by the way. It's considered a fix, so it's also in 3.1, not only 3.2, but it fixes, it's a bug fix, but this is how it used to be. So you would select, and then if you wanted to box select, it would select everything underneath. Super annoying. So not anymore. Now select the new frame. Okay, select from the borders, you can move it, but if you click and drag inside, it should box select, just as expected. So yeah, you need to click around the edges of the frame to get the previous behavior. Okay, next. Well, some user interface changes, improvements. Oh yeah, this is special for Dominique. Thank you, Dominique. It seems that you've been paying attention to Blender.Today live, because apparently I complained about the misalignment in the nodes, in the labels for vector sockets. So I think I mentioned once how all the sockets are aligned, right, to the field, except vector sockets. They had this offset, so it was like halfway between the first divider. It was a bit weird, and it should be next to the name, right? So well, he went ahead and did it. So it's now aligned properly. It aligns translation, rotation, scale, and when you plug and unplug them, it works as expected. Because this is how it used to be. When you connect it, and then it will collapse, but then it would move the socket around. You see, it goes up. Not anymore. Now, when you connect, it will collapse the thing, the rest of the UI, and not that one. Such a small detail, but hey, all these tiny little fixes make the UI more predictable. So thank you, Dominic Phil, for working on that. And another master of the pixel perfect details is Leon. Leon has been contributing so many little fixes here and there on the widgets, on the roundness, on the zoom levels, on like very, very small details. And this is one of them. Have you ever noticed how when you zoom out on the node tree, all the shadows or actually the nodes themselves will become a bit mushy? That was because the shadow behind the nodes was in screen size. So when you're zoomed in, where that you see the node like a bit this big, then the shadow is nice small around it. It's fine. If you zoom out, the shadow didn't change size, but the node did. So it was like a giant shadow. Not anymore. So this is how it used to be. The big, noisy, and not anymore. I think I can make it, can give more credit to how it used to be. Yeah, so I don't know if it's visible. Is it? Yeah, you see. It's way too much. In a way, it looked like the frames would like fade away. That is for this one change, and I think it's time to move. Oh, another performance improvement this week, but this is a separate topic, so let's call Mario. This the topic is a bit of a potpourri because now it's a bunch of sections, a bunch of features in many places. But this one, performance of bone selection. So ever notice when you have hundreds, thousands of bones, especially if they were overlapping, clicking on them to select them would take up to seconds, several seconds, just to select the bone. This was fixed by Campbell, so now it should be instantaneous or much faster, or quickly, according to Campbell's words. So yeah, much faster. Selecting bones, yay for that. Another feature, let's jump into the video sequence editor. In this case, there is no picture, not much to see, but the change is quite noticeable when you are transforming a strip. The transform is no longer, the offset is no longer happen in integers. That's how it used to be. So you could only move from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it was like stepped. Now, instead of being an integer, it's going to be a float. So that means that it can go 1.001, 2, 3, and it's going to be much more smooth for making movements, for transforming your stuff. Okay, next improvement. Let's call Mario because this is cycles. Let's talk about cycles. This is only for Apple Metal AMD GPUs. However, I think I didn't add it here. So okay, let's talk about Metal. Metal now works, Apple Metal now works on AMD GPUs. It's no longer a M1 or Apple Silicon exclusive. So that's amazing, isn't it? The thing that may be not so amazing is that you need to upgrade your operating system because if you have one lower than this, but Apple Silicon is enabled on macOS 12.2, but AMD support is on 12.3, which I think it hasn't been out yet. I think it's in beta or not. But how old is this? Anyway, it's 12.3. So if you are not, 5 days ago, macOS released beta 2 for developers. Okay, so pretty new. But hey, you get AMD support for cycles. So your cycles are gonna render faster for free. Awesome. The next update is a new checkbox that allows you to enable Metal RT or ray tracing. This is a setting that is gonna help you with memory consumption. It's gonna help you in scenes that have too many curves or hair, for example. It should be, yeah, also hair. It should help to not consume so much memory. It's experimental though, so beware. May not render exactly the same. I think it's hair. Yeah. In the description of the setting, you can see that Metal RT for ray tracing uses less memory for scenes which use curves extensively and can give better performance in specific cases. However, the support is experimental and some scenes may render incorrectly. So careful. Use with care, with caution. So yeah, massive news. Metal on AMD GPUs, and that is 3.1 by Blender 3.1. It's not for 3.2. So the new Blender that it's scheduled to come in less than 1 month, early March, I think it's March 9 or so, should have AMD GPU support on Metal, on Apple. Okay, now let's do a quick round of potpourri section. First, there is a new setting in the filter in the compositor. You know, you can have Sharpen in the compositor. Well, Sharpen is a bit too strong, the default Sharpen in the compositor. This method is using what they call box sharpen, which is pretty intense. There is a new method added that is called diamond shape sharpen, which should be like somewhere in between. So if I hide myself, you can see on the left, this is the original one. On the rightmost side, you're gonna see how the regular sharpen works. And in the middle, you have diamond kernel, which is the diamond shape sharpen, which is a bit more mild. It's not too strong. So I recommend using it. Even though you can still control the factor, this was needed. So, and what I like about this implementation and commit and patch by Colin Basnet, thank you Colin, is that he links to a right-click select blog post that, was it by you? Yeah. Okay, now you're my hero, Colin, because he made the post on right-click select, the idea, and then let me upvote it. And then he went ahead and made a patch for it. So I think now it's in master. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and mark this as done. Well done, Colin. Thank you. Let's see what other updates in this potpourri section. One, if you use when browsing for fonts inside of Blender, if you have WOFF or WOFF2, WFF fonts, Web Open Font Format, or WOFF, or WOFF2, you're gonna be able to see them when browsing fonts inside of Blender, thanks to this commit by Harley. The next one is a fix in, well, it's a fix, but I put it in the list because it's also part of a new feature, and it's also made by someone I haven't seen before here, Paolo Acampora. Symmetrize armature, so to make it symmetrical, now works on custom bone shapes. So when you run this operator, it will also symmetrize the transform of custom bone shapes. And not only that fix, but also a new setting in the operator, the API of the operator that allows you to select what do you want to symmetrize. Symmetrize. Am I saying this correctly? I'm sorry. To symmetrize the same, all, or none. So super cool. Thank you, Paolo. Nice name. Okay, the next. Okay, this is just a PSA, a public service announcement. If you compile Blender, you know, when you compile Blender, it looks something like this. You are in the code, and you can git pull changes. This is how you get all the changes from master. You may have noticed that hundreds of files were changed. Well, I'm up to date. You see, we were using the latest Blender. Hundreds of files were changed because there was a change in the license, not in the license itself, but how the license is displayed. So in the past, most files will have the entire GPL license, or at least a big chunk of it, in the header of a file. So this would use like a big space. But not only that, it's also with just add files, like the files will be bigger and hard to read. So now it uses the SPDX convention that simply has a one-liner, and it links to it mentions the license, and it goes to whatever it's explained, but it doesn't take so much space. So if you also have add-ons in Blender, you may have seen changes in the add-ons. It's because of that. And another reason why you may have seen some noise in the files, like a bunch of files have changed within cycles, it's or Blender in general, but it's related to curves. And this is not a new feature per se. There is no change for the users, but I like to mention it because it's kind of like a teaser of things to come. So developers, especially Hans, is working already for some days now, or weeks even, on improving or working on a new curve data block, in so to speak, that will include, it's prepared for being more future-proof, include hair, for example. So these are the very first foundation steps into better hair in Blender. So I'm pretty happy to see that. That's why I'm mentioning it. And because if you just look at the insane amount of code that was changed, it's just seeing. And thank you, Hans, for going through this. Must not be easy. The other mention, again, doesn't change anything at the user level for now, but it's interesting to imagine what's to come. So the library OpenXR has been upgraded from 1.017 to 1.022, and by itself, nothing changes for the users, but there is some, but it's good to keep it up to date. And there are some extensions that might come in handy in the future, like XR HTC X Vive tracker interaction, or FB render model. So I think for Quest, I guess this is Facebook, HTC facial expression, and Vive Focus 3 controller interaction. So the fact that those extensions are now part of the of this library mentions that it could be easier to implement these things in the future in Blender. Crowny, Pablo, what's going on with Eevee? So long without news. Eevee is going through a refactor. It's going through the equivalent of Cycles X, but for Eevee. It's called Eevee 2.0 refactor. So it's there is no news because of good reasons. Okay, next. Okay, add-ons. Let's talk a little bit about add-ons and then we wrap up. The Gltf Exporter has gotten, I don't know, dozens of fixes and improvements everywhere. So I'm not mentioning all of them, but this one that was committed on a Saturday, Julian, you should rest. It's a new option that allows you to not export or to leave out the texture images. So in case you just want to export just the geometry, there's a new option for that. And yeah, this add-on has went up like a few versions already, 1 point versions. So if you use gltf, make sure you update. And Rigify got some updates in the user interface by Dilate. This add-on used to have 3 panels on the top level: Rigify Bond Groups, Rigify Elements, Rigify Generation, making use of too much space. So now these have become sub-panels of the Rigify panel, so you can see everything more at a glance, more closer together, and how it's meant to be used. I wish though, like every time this happens, is like, okay, this is awesome, it's great that everything is together. However, we still don't have a way to rearrange these sub panels. It's not possible yet. So I wish we have that at some point in the future, because even though the fact that they are arranged by the developers, like what you see here is not just random, but it's the developers make it in a way that, okay, maybe the most important ones are on the top or together. It still would be nice to rearrange them, especially when there are too many. More improvements in Rigify. One of them is now you can align the IK control location to world space. So there's that. You can align IK control location channels to use a new space, which is now the default. So make world orientation the default for IK control location. But yeah, this is a request by riggers. It's good to see it. So thank you, Alexander, for working on this. And the last but not least change is in the bolt factory, which we saw an improvement last week. If you remember, there is another improvement by Robert Meerman that makes it so when you change settings, the smoothing options are preserved. So that's it. And yeah, that's all. That is everything for this week that I have to share in the Blender world. So how's the chat going? Pablo 2.0. What is 2.0? The Eevee 2.0. I'm not 2.0. I'm 35.2 already. 0.2 or 0.3. But it's an LTS, don't worry. I hope. For my birthday, I received a message saying that let's go to the questions. I received a message for my birthday saying that mentioning how I was a new version 3.5 and I was an LTS, and that was very nice, very warm to receive that. Let's continue. So let's see. There is 8 comments, and there's some in the patch, in the chat. There's one by Hamad Waris. I'm 13. I have a low-end laptop, so should I use Eevee or Cycles? Whatever works for you, but if you're 13, one pro tip: don't spam. The first time is just enough usually. But yeah, you should use whatever works for you. I mean, sometimes Cycles is faster than Eevee, and sometimes Eevee is faster. It depends on what you do. I mean, I'm talking about Cycles X. Sometimes it's faster than Eevee for some things, and of course, if you need ray tracing, you go for ray tracing. But if you're just 13 and starting and just learning, go with Eevee. If it works on your laptop, on your graphics card, go with Eevee. And all right, so first one. I just created my first patch, says Coco, for Blender, and I want to know if I have to notify a developer or I just wait. Manta flow increase temperature limits. Nice. So and a bunch of fire emojis accordingly. Well, I think, who said subscriber? Who added the reviewer? So somebody added Sebastian as reviewer, which is correct. However, you shouldn't add people as reviewer directly. You should contact them maybe in IRC, in the chat, for example, in Blender chat. So I will go when you have something like this, go to Notes and Physics, or to the project itself. And here you're gonna find the Blender chat link. So when you click there, you're gonna go into the chat, and here you can say like, hey, I made this, and can someone review it? And then maybe poking there, it's a bit less intrusive than directly mentioning or adding people as reviewers. However, this was published 2 days ago, so give it some time. Like, you poke Sebastian has a job, I hope, and it's just Monday, so yeah, give it some time. It's very quick, so I give it at least a few days, a week maybe, and then chat in the Blender chat. Chat in the Blender chat. All right, Dante asks, hi Paulo, I hope you're having a great day. I am, thank you. I wanted to get your opinion on my right-click select proposal regarding how node groups in the current shader editor look like. As of right now, node groups in the shader editor don't have the same flexibility as the geometry node groups. Here's the proposal. If you think it's a good idea, would you mind poking one of the devs, so maybe at least the first part of it will be added in the near future? Thank you in advance. Too long, didn't read. Shader node groups have unexposed sockets that can be added with Python, but they are not exposed by default. But it would be great having them exposed to make the shader node groups look the same as geometry nodes, keeping them both consistent. Yes, this topic came up in the texture workshop that was done a few weeks ago here at the studio as well. There will be a write-up, I think, from the discussions in that workshop, but this is in the plans, together with a new texture node editor, maybe layered materials. It's part of a bigger discussion, but yeah, definitely the idea is to be able to expose things that you use, or even at an asset level. If you make a material an asset, you want to expose certain settings, that also could be a way. Jonas90 asks, hey Pablo, can you comment on my ideas? 3 ideas. What do you think about it? Will be difficult to add these features to Blender? Let's see. And gone. Gone. Like, trim, please add in sculpting. In sculpting, it is possible to crop with lasso. I didn't find any trimming function with end gone lines. Is there such a function? Not that I know. But it should be possible to add, I guess, if lasso is there. However, we need people working on that, which is... Oh, by the way, there is a new blog post coming this week, hopefully, on sculpting, on what's happening in sculpting, what's the future and the present, because there is actually development happening in a branch, the Sculpt Dev branch. So there will be more news for this week, and I'm going to mention, if there is, I'm going to mention on Monday. But this doesn't look too complex for an experienced developer, or even one developer that wants to start getting involved in it. If you look at the lasso, add new transform, general transform, GRS. Add a general operation of rotation, movement, scale, so that we can use the repetition of the last operators. Oh, one for everything. And the ability after applying duplicate in the menu to correct all GRS. So what is this? Like a one step less. As a general operation of rotation, movement, scaling, so that we can use the repetition. So you can use Shift R to redo all 3 of them. Yeah, I think it's a good point. Duplicate, resize, and rotate all of them. Yeah, no, I think well, this is not what we want. What you want? You probably want something a bit more organized, like location. Because this is move. It's really called move. That's terrible. Is it really move? Like if you Shift D, it's called move. This should be location. And the tooltip is move. Move. No. And also here you want scale and here you want rotation. So you want to have a bit more consistent. But yeah, it's probably something for the duplicate operator and each operator should have its own. But for the new transform, it's a new operator altogether, I think. We'd expose those features. Next question. Oh no, next proposal. Add a modifier mirror radial symmetry. Oh yeah, this is 3 months ago, but have you used the search? This is, yeah, it's everywhere. Like array, radial array or something. There is even more. I remember merging requests, and hopefully the answer for that is geometry nodes presets for modifiers. One day when we have modifiers, when modifiers can be like an asset, and then you can just include them with Blender. I think modifiers are a data block. Am I right? I think so. So it needs some designing, but hopefully one day the list of modifiers can be replaced with a list of mixed presets and mixed built-in ones that cannot be made with geometry nodes. All right. Hello, Pablo. I want to use the space to share a proposal and made on right-click select is on fire today that I'm craving for ages for copying modifiers from one object to the other in an easier and more natural way. Be sure to read the whole thing. More natural way than with the add-on, the copy add-on. This copy attribute add-on allows you. I didn't even look at the proposal, but allows you to to move it to between objects. Ctrl+C, you can do copy selected modifiers there, or copy modifiers for the entire thing. Or you can use link modifiers. Okay, what is the proposal? Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V for copying modifiers to other objects. Since geometry nodes was introduced, we now have a concept of an active modifier that is correct. Defined by a blue outline, giving us the ability to select modifiers. Well, this was done for switching between different geometry nodes modifiers. I think this is a perfect occasion for extending the functionality and being able to select one or multiple objects modifiers. Select another object and press Ctrl+V to paste them. Before you can say that there is copy to selected or the copy modifier. This is because it feels more natural, easy to do, and less hidden. In addition to permitting copy multiple selected modifiers. This is how it will look before selecting. Yeah, I don't see any why not. The thing is, the entire copy pasting in Blender needs to be reimagined. I think for like if it's done for this, should be done also for all the grease pencil effects or for constraints, object constraints, bomb constraints. So yeah. When thinking of these features should be for everything. But yeah, I don't see why not. I wonder the implications. Would it take over your clipboard, or you want a dedicated clipboard for modifiers? Next. Hi Pablo, what do you think about this project? It's fluid seams in the GPU, early development phase, but maybe worth looking at. What is this? Hurricane update 2. What is this? Is it open source? I mean, every time one of these things come up, like a new paper or new something, I first check if it's open source, otherwise. Oh, it's using a monkey, so hopefully it is. It's interesting. It's very early, but I see if the developer is using a monkey, then they might have an interest in adding it. I remember when Manta Flow was added, part of the work done there was to make Blender so not only Manta Flow but other libraries could be attached to be like connected with Blender. So hopefully more of this kind of stuff can be plugged in. And Ruel Nicolas, hello Pablo, hope you're doing well. Thanks for the great show every Monday. Thank you. My question is there is a big difference in terms of viewport management and speed between Blender 2.8 Smoke Sim and the 3.1 2.2 Manta Flow? Do you have infos or improvements maybe related in the project haste needs? Difference in terms of viewport management and speed between 2.80. Well, if you're talking about the old 2.8. Wait, when was Manta Flow added? Was it 2.8 or 2. Wiki Blender.org. Was it in 2.8? 2.80? 80? Manta Flow physics? No. I was in 281. Wow, this is really old. Physics. And Manta Flow is the new physical. Ah, there you go. So it was in 2.82. So the 2.80, 8081 were using the old system. And many people complain, yes, there is a difference in performance, but also because the defaults are very different. As in the defaults for the old smoke simulation was super low res, and the defaults for Manta Flow are higher resolution by default, so it is gonna be slower. But yeah, no, I don't have any news in particular regarding Project Heist for Manta Flow, but the team now is more focused on trying to think, okay, what's gonna be needed in terms of actually making the characters and baking, sculpting, and all of that stuff. Next, and the last two questions, and it's 6 o'clock, so I am on time. Hello, Pablo. Thanks for this live. Well, actually, I have this suggestion. So the questions became a link to. Hey, it's good that people are using right-click select. It's good to see being adopted and used. Scale and rotation input nodes. For instances, I guess these attributes are for instances. This will be helpful a lot. By the way, this was available before, but this time I'm going to show a showcase. Here's a node tree. Let's just say I want to rotate the instances by how much the scale is, and since there is no scale node, there is another solution than attribute transfer, but sadly it will not work. Isn't there like a scale? Sure. Elements or something. Scale instances. Is that what you are looking for? I'm sorry, I'm not super familiar. Like just by looking at a node tree, I'm not super tech savvy in terms of nodes, so may have been missing something. But yeah, you don't have the scaled instances, and by how much the scale is. So you want to get the scale. So so you want to have like an input, like the same way you can have like a position, but you want to have scale, something like that, or not. Like a instance info, something like that, like an info for you have other object info, collection info. I will let more smarter people to answer this. Sorry, I'm not there yet. Michael, hola Pablo, ¿todo bien? ¿Todo piola? ¿Qué haces? I have a question regarding the principal BSDF. When I add it to my materials, specular tint now defaults 0.5. I'm using 3.1 daily builds, and I tried the factory settings. Do you know anything about this? It seems like an odd default. Thanks for any insights you can give. Well, specular color is not set, right? I'm not sure. Is this something that had changed in 3.1 or before? If you go to the wiki, when you notice something like that, something different, always go check here. Tint, or maybe I can search here. Specular tint. Oh, there 279. No. If this has changed recently, then specular. No, it's not recent. or just mention it. I mean, if it's something that changed out of nowhere without an explanation, report it as a bug, and you're gonna find out why. Maybe sometimes it wasn't planned. Thanks for your support, by the way. Blender Cloud subscriber, Blender Code Quest, Gold Development Fund, and Sprite Fried Open Movie. They keep piling up. Okay, I think I answered everything that was here at the moment of opening this page. I can click. Okay, there is a few more. Let's do 3 more because I started late. So let's be fair. Although I have to run and go prepare for the Spanish live stream. Spanish speaking live stream. Argentina speaking live stream. The first ones would be at the bottom, I assume. I answer all of this. Could you give us any updates on the texturing system? Any internal discussion so far? No, I mentioned there was this workshop, and there is probably there will be a write-up in-depth talk maybe in the meeting notes. Meeting notes. Skull texture painting module meeting. No, but there must be, there will be a write-up because there was a cool outcome from it. I need to ask Brecht about this. Is grid data available in the Blender API? Grid data, like point cloud? If it's not there, it should be planned, but should be the same treatment as meshes, I assume. When will Blender have C++ API, and why aren't you guys implementing it? What's the reason behind there's no C++ API? Well, with the Python API, it's already quite some work to be done to maintain it. This is not an official reply, by the way. This is just what I think personally. But you know how sometimes Blender Python add-ons make Blender crash? Even built-in add-ons, like there was a crash fixed on Regify this week. Imagine if you had a C API. It's even worse. Or more fragile because you're actually messing up with the memory stuff. So yeah, can be a bit dangerous. However, I think if there are big changes that should be done to Blender itself. I don't know exactly what's the reason why not to have a C API, but the Python API is already a ton of work to maintain. So maybe that's it. Maybe there's no one up for it. You know, all of this usually comes from for community contributions. And what else? I think I read them all. Not even hello, Gunjan. Right now, there's no way to create random value for geometry. Is there any specific reason this is not added? What do you mean, random value for the whole geometry? You have a random value node. Like, random. What do you mean for the geometry? Like a randomized position? Vertices? Examples. Okay. Hello, Pablo. Hope you have a nice Monday. Just want to say thank you very much for doing these streams every Monday. Thank you, Blendy. Nice avatar. Did you make it? Super nice. All right. So that is all for this week. I think I can wrap it up now and go full screen. Have this, you can see how dark it's already. The Netherlands, why? Daylight saving, why? Okay, it's been a super packed episode today. We have improvements like Blender from last week and from this week for Grease Pencil, at least night and day. For resyncing the library overrides, make sure you read the blog post. It took so much time to read it and give feedback on it. But this week there will be another, hopefully, on sculpting. Next week I'm gonna talk about it, if it made it, because it needs to be, you know, blog posts, they used to be more just write something, it's out. Now they go through a lot of eyes and hands. It's been reviewed by the developers, by the artists, by Ton also, or Francesco, or Dilate, or it's good, but it takes time. Speaking of time, let's do this again next week, same place, same time. What do you say? Watch your ear holes, cover your ear holes. for this. Next week, same place, same time. This show that we call Blender.Today Live. Ow. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Happy Valentine. Hug your pets, your friends, your family. Have fun. Happy blending. Have a great week. Bye.